I'm here at St. Stephen's Catholic Church in Portland, Oregon. Today is the first day in our Novena to Saint Philomena, Virgin and Martyr. And we're going to be considering, for the most part, a book here called St. Philomena the Wonder Worker, which is published by Tan Books. It's a reprint from a 1925 book by Father Paul O'Sullivan of the Order of Preachers, a Dominican. And so far, I have to tell you, I'm reading this along with you. I'm a little bit ahead of you. But the first page, the first paragraph, or the first chapter was captivating, and yet we don't really get to anything, but it's a good foundation. So I'm going to share with you bits of this book as we go along. And it starts with, chapter 1 starts with an explanation of the catacombs. Let's listen to what Father O'Sullivan has to say. Who has not heard of the catacombs of Rome? Those wonderful hidden passages and corridors, those subterranean chambers dug out in the bowels of the earth, and forming, as it were, a belt of underground fortresses around and in the close vicinity of the eternal city. After St. Peter's and a visit to the Holy Father, the catacombs, with their hallowed memories, are the great sight of Rome, and here venerable pontiffs, saintly bishops, spotless virgins, fearless martyrs gathered together in secret to celebrate the divine mysteries. Here too tender youths and venerable old men, proud patricians and humble plebeians, nay princes even, and slaves, knelt at the same altar, adored the same God, and participated in the same divine food. Here they met in the evening at the feet of the venerable pontiff. A few short hours after, they were fighting with lions in the arena, and when the darkness of night again overshadowed the earth, their mangled remains were borne back for the last benediction to the feet of Christ's vicar on earth. Then they were reverently enclosed in crypts, hollowed out in the tufa granulare, or soft stone, where side by side the living dwelt with the dead, these resting after their labors, and those awaiting their summons to the battlefield. The meaning of the word catacomb is not evident at first. It would seem to mean a depression or hollow in the ground, and we find it applied for the first time to a neighborhood in the Appian Way, close by the tomb of Cecilia Metellus, under which lay the cemetery of St. Sebastian. The name catacomb given to this cemetery was then gradually applied to the others around Rome. The word thus came to mean a subterranean burial place dug out in the soft stone or tufa by the early Christians. Well, for many years it was commonly believed that they had been sand pits, from which, as the sand was extracted for building purposes, long passages and corridors were formed, which, in the early ages of Christianity, the faithful used as places of refuge. Well, this opinion is no longer tenable. The great number of catacombs are not dug out in the sandy soil, but hollowed out in the strata of soft stone common about Rome. The exact date of the first catacomb is not known. The pagans usually cremated their dead. This custom seems to have been abhorrent at all times to the Christians, and if I may just add here, it still should be abhorrent to all Christians. Like the Jews, they preferred to bury their dead, according to the custom prevalent in Palestine, that is, in vaults cut out in the rock, such as we read of regarding the burial place of Lazarus. The sepulchre which Joseph of Arimathea seated for the burial of our Lord was also hewn out of rock. Since, however, the persecution started in the reign of Nero, in the year of our Lord 54 to 68 AD, and the Christians could not safely perform the burial services in the presence of their heathen enemies above ground, it is clear that from a very early date indeed, they must have begun to hollow out these subterranean cemeteries. We have proofs of the existence of the catacombs certainly as early as the reign of Domitian, in the year of our Lord 96. It is not easy to divine where the Christians who died in Rome before this date were buried. No traces of such burial places are to be found. but it is surmised that they were buried either in the Jewish cemetery, less abhorrent to them than pagan burial grounds, or that Roman converts who had private mausoleums allowed their new brethren to have a resting place in the immediate proximity of their own. Well, the catacombs are enormous in extent, and it is calculated that if instead of being grouped around Rome, they were stretched out in one direction, they should reach to a length of several hundred miles. Grave authorities tell us that 6 million Christians were buried in the catacombs. The number is not excessive if we calculate that these cemeteries were in use upward of 300 years, and that in these 300 years, 10 bloody persecutions were waged against the helpless Christians. Though the 60 catacombs in the vicinity of Rome are the most famous, there are others scattered over different parts of Italy, France, Greece, Illyria, Africa, and Asia Minor, all of which possess many notable archaeological treasures. Now, why were the catacombs abandoned? The catacombs were naturally abandoned when Constantine gave lasting peace to the Catholic Church. Hiding places were no longer required, and there was no further need for subterranean burial places. They were venerated, however, and most justly so, as places of pilgrimage, for they were the hallowed resting places of the heroes and heroines whose names were in every mouth, whose memories were revered, whose combats and triumphs were the glory and consolation of the Church, and whose help was invoked in every need. And thus they continued until Rome fell prey to the Goths and Lombards, and these barbarous invaders, believing that vast treasures were hidden in the underground vaults, invaded the sacred precincts, broke open the tombs of the martyrs, and scattered their dust on the ground. Well, the next phase in the history of the catacombs was marked by the transference of the relics of the more famous martyrs to the great basilicas and other sanctuaries, especially erected for them by the Roman patricians. Well, the popes, desirous of depositing these precious remains in places more worthy of them, and anxious to put before the eyes of the people the examples of those heroes and heroines of the faith, proceeded to transfer thousands of the bodies to above-ground churches, where they would be more accessible to the veneration of the faithful. The catacombs, thus despoiled of their richest treasures, became gradually less and less frequented, and at last were entirely abandoned. Dirt and debris so blocked the entrances that in a short time all knowledge of their whereabouts was lost to the world, and it was only in the year 1578 that they were casually rediscovered. The Roman pontiffs now became thoroughly alive to the vast importance of safeguarding them and appointing trustworthy custodians to watch over the treasures still enclosed in them. The present procedure is as follows. Expert workmen, directed by learned ecclesiastics, are appointed to make excavations. When a new discovery is made, work ceases until the competent authority arrives, and then a minute examination commences under the direction of specialists, and everything on the exterior of the sarcophagus is first carefully noted, after which the sarcophagus is opened for the examination of what may be found inside. Satisfied that they are in the presence of the relics of a holy martyr, those present fall on their knees and recite the prescribed prayers. And then follows diligent investigation, and every sign or emblem discovered is inscribed in writing for the better elucidation of the history of the martyr. And we're going to stop there, because that takes us up to a very important moment, but we're not going to go there till tomorrow. Now, those of you who know something about the history and story of St. Philomena might be very excited to have heard this prelude, this history about the catacombs. Well, tomorrow we will see just what those excavators found in the year 1802. Now it's time to pray our Novena prayer. And we're going to do it right here, but you're going to have to click on a link in the description below the video for a separate video to pray along with me. And I'll tell you a little secret here, that once you click on that link, it's going to become sunny, and you can pray the prayer with me with sunshine and blue sky in the background. Well, join me tomorrow for another exciting episode in the Novena to Saint Philomena, and don't miss a day of prayer with us.